Chances are you're expecting to hear our names and our company name. But if we tell you that, you'll never remember it because right now, as you are looking at us,
you are thinking, who is that strange tall giant in the background? And we see this all the time when we go and visit different buildings and we walk past the security desk or the receptionist and you walk past them. And as you're walking, you start to hear these whispers.
Goes something like this. How tall is he?
Ooh, how tall is he? We're going to break it down real fast for you. I am 6'9", meaning I hit those clearance bars in parking garages. And the real question is, did you play basketball? And the sad answer is no. But Rebecca tears me up on our home court.
I kill him on our home court, and I have zero athletic ability. But what I do have is at 5'2", I know exactly where Keith's blind spots are, and they're fun to play with on the court and off the court. My name is Rebecca Klein, and Klein means small in German. This business was fate.
And my name is Keith Scott, and Scott means extremely tall in Scottish.
At least we made that up, and we can convince you of anything. We have a company called Tall Small Productions. What do we produce? We produce excellent communicators. And we are going to have you do something that you're not expecting to do right now.
First of all, you're going to have to stand up. And everybody's like, oh, it's those type of trainers making me do something. But you're right, we are making you do something. So you got to stand up. And once you are standing, put your feet together, because safety first, always.
Your feet are going to stay firmly grounded. And if you're holding a phone or anything else, put it away because you need to be hands-free for this.
What you're going to do is you're going to lift your arm, point your finger directly in front of you, and then you are going to take your arm and finger, which hopefully are attached, and you are going to move them clockwise as far as you can go, and then
you need to remember your stopping point. 1, 2, 3. Feel that burn and remember where your finger stopped last.
Now, everything, this is going to be easy for folks, everything is in your imagination, meaning you got to shut your eyes and you got to allow your head to dream a little bit.
And as you shut your eyes and everything's in your imagination, you don't need to lift or move any parts of your body. Only do it in your mind. In your imagination, with your eyes closed, you are going to raise your arm, point your finger, and this time as you swivel around,
you are going to go 25% further than you did before. 25% further. Remember, your eyes are shut than you did before.
You're now going to come back to center. Your eyes are still closed. You're thinking, what's the point of this? We'll reveal that soon enough. You are going to raise your arm, point your finger, only this time.
In your imagination, you are going to go 50% further. You think, I can't possibly do it, but you can do it in your imagination.
And for the final one in your imagination, this time with your eyes closed, you are going to
lift your arm, point your finger, and this time you're going to go 360 degrees around, like the old owls in the cartoons we watched on Saturday morning.
Would that be possible?
I don't think so.
In your imagination, anything is. Now you are going to open your eyes, step back out of your imagination.
Lift your arm, point your finger, and this time go clockwise as far as you can. 1, 2, 3. All right, how many people went further?
Make some noise. No one will hear you on the call, but make some noise at home. Why did it work? Why did you go further during that last step?
Most people, when they do that experiment, they think, I got to stand up. Now they want me to move my arm around. I don't even want to do this. So they just get up, they do whatever they got to do, and they're like, yeah, it's good enough. Most things in life, let's be honest with ourselves, we think, it's good enough.
And we don't give ourselves the belief that we can take things even further. This applies completely to the art of the pitch. A lot of people will tell us, I did the best I can. I prepared all night. They'll tell us how long they prepared. It doesn't matter how long you prepare. It's all about that mindset that you go in with and what you're saying.
The number one thing you can do, this matters more than anything, is if you don't do this, nothing else matters. You got to grab people's attention. If you don't grab their attention, you're done. It's similar if you were going to pick a movie on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu. I'll mention many of them because I don't want to single them out. But if you're going to pick a movie, you have to have some movie, a screen, a picture, a visual, music, whatever. It has to grab your attention.
And Keith speaks from experience on this because every Thursday night on our date night, yes, we work 24/7 and then have a date night too. But on our date night, Keith has the challenge of going through the Netflix movies, and we do use Netflix primarily, looking at the icons, figuring out what's going to grab my attention and keep me awake.
Past 8:30.
8:30. Now that makes me a little pathetic. But when it comes to grabbing attention and that whole envision thing where we stretched our arms, too often people think, oh, this is good enough. The judges, the investors, these people will get it. And people don't go that extra mile to really make sure that what they're saying is something people care about hearing.
And when you envisioned it, you took it to the extra mile. That's the same thing you need to be doing when we're talking to investors. You've got to think, I've got to take this a little bit further. I got to imagine myself successful. I have to imagine myself walking away with the full confidence of the people I spoke to.
And part of that imagination is setting yourself up for success. Not going in there and saying, well, I've never done this before, I'm going to try. But going in there and saying, I'm going to knock their socks off.
Knock their socks off. I haven't heard that one for a while.
Me either. I don't know where that came from in my mind.
And that's always fun, too, to listen to the stories and understand where they came from and the phrases. Because even as your investors say different phrases, then you can kind of get a handle on where they're coming from.
Some of the top do's and don'ts. Number one do is get out of the gate and get their attention right away. Even if you have something great to say, if you wait till 5 minutes in, chances are the investors are thinking about what they're having for dinner that night.
Many people start out with, hi, I'm Frank, and I have X, Y, and Z company. I'm so glad to be here with you today. This is really an honor, blah, blah, blah. The investors have heard this about 1 million times. They're not listening anymore. You got to grab their attention. You got to throw a word out, a phrase, do something where they're like, whoa, this is different than anything else.
Let's say that we were trying to grab the attention of investors. It would be completely boring if we said, people need public speaking lessons. And we hear people say that type of thing.
No one would.
No one would ever buy. But if we said there are more people out there who would rather have insects, spiders crawling all over their body.
Cicadas.
They'd rather die, cicadas, than get out there and do public speaking. That might catch someone's attention, especially if we let all those spiders loose on
And if we let Jerry Seinfeld say it, that would be a whole nother.
That would be a whole other one.
But do's and don'ts. Another don't, because we've done do's, a don't is to realize that these people are human beings too. Many times we freak ourselves out because we think, oh, there are investors up here and I'm just a little peasant down here. And am I worthy to talk to these great gifted people? The fact is you're on the same level. You're on the same playing field. You have different titles, but you're all born the same and you all die the same. So you have to get past the fear that they're better than you.
And you might think, why does that wonder? No one can see inside my head to know I have that fear. But it comes out because when we have that fear, it turns into language that makes investors think, I don't want to put my money into that person. If someone says, oh, thank you so much for your time. I know you're really important and I'm just starting out. It doesn't exactly create the perception that they're going to get a return on what you do.
If you go to an amusement park and you go by the roller coasters and you notice when they're rolling by, they're kind of rickety and the metal's a little bit rusted and everything else, you're probably not going to ride and invest your ticket in that ride. It's the same body language you're giving away and you don't even notice it. Rickety, kind of shaking a little bit. Who wants to invest in that?
You want to grab the attention with a single powerful statement. And it shouldn't be about you, because it has to be something that the investor can put him or herself into and feel.
That goes with the words you choose. This is probably the number one. I know I said the last one's the number one, but I have changed my mind.
Go for it.
I'm taking a stand, Rebecca. This is the number one. Filler words, those nasty, nasty, evil words. The like, you know.
No, and so.
Ooh.
And why are these words terrible? They cause people to tune out, to misunderstand, to not care, add any other negative phrase after that, and it will happen, because most people can only pay attention for 5 to 7 seconds before they start thinking about something else. And that's why your sentences need to be short.
Notice how Rebecca said short.
Shorter is sweeter, right?
But getting rid of the filler words, number one thing you can do, whether it's pitching to investors, pitching to anybody, giving a presentation, talking with a significant other, the more filler you have, the less people comprehend. As I said in World War II, a bit of a different circumstance, but loose lips sink ships. The more you say, the more spies may hear, the more information they have to bomb the ship. Say less, but be more powerful in saying it.
It also shows confidence. How many of you have had a really disgusting crab cake where you can't taste any real crab meat because it's all filler?
Ugh, those are the worst. And then you the whole time you say, why did I pay for this?
That's how filler words work. And you're probably thinking, okay, Keith and Rebecca, how can I possibly get rid of these words? They've been attached to me my whole life. It's far easier than you may think, because what you need to do is don't tune into what you are saying, but listen to other people.
The fastest way to change any behavior, whether it's filler words, losing weight, quitting smoking, I don't care what it is, but watch other people who use filler words. They use them a lot. Watch it on TV, listen on the radio, listen to friends, listen while you're in the supermarket. You will hear this everywhere you go. And here's what we want you to do. When you hear these words, we want you to think, ugh, I never want to sound like that person.
And the more you do that, and the more you listen for them, they will naturally drop out of your language. Now, there's something even more important, though, than the filler words. And that is your body language. When you are grabbing attention, you're not going to do it if you're not making eye contact and your arms are crossed and you're hunched over.
And you're looking over this way. Body language is 70% of communication. The fact is, once you leave your house or wherever you live and you walk out into the public sphere, you are communicating. You walk up the street, you walk to the store, you walk to your car. I don't care where it is, how private you think it is. If other people can see you, you're speaking.
It doesn't matter if you have the best idea in the world. If an investor is not comfortable, does not feel accepted and comfortable with you, they're not going to invest. And how do you do that? Through eye contact, smiling. And if you're doing this conversation over Zoom or in the digital world somewhere, it's even more important that you show that smile and make good eye contact.
Why should you make good eye contact? I mean, does it really matter that much? It has been shown by statistic after statistic that people either gain jobs or lose jobs. People gain the confidence of investors, gain a new contract, and the people have said that person didn't look me in the eye, or they had an eagle eye on me the whole time. It is a make or break type of language.
Other do's you want to do is talk with your hands. Because a lot of times people get nervous and they clench their fists together and they don't talk with their hands. And this is how you keep people engaged and on topic with you.
Don't do this, though. This is not what you're talking about.
Or
right?
not this.
But the fact is, use your hands. And don't let anybody tell you, you know, Sally, you use your hands too much. You know why they do that? Because they're jealous and they feel like Sally can communicate better. Use your hands as much as you can. Remember, communication is theater. As Shakespeare said, The world is a stage. You're all mere actors. So therefore, you have to use the theatrics in what you do, in everything you do.
Now that you have the theatrics and you've gotten rid of the filler words, what else can you do to grab attention? Never tell people that you've created the best, something that's unique, something that's different. Because people are jaded, they've heard that before. Instead, you want the investors to come to that conclusion themselves and to realize that as you've grabbed their attention.
You know, when you read resumes or LinkedIn profiles and someone says, I'm a highly experienced, certified X, Y, and Z who is highly motivated and led development teams, and no one believes that stuff. First of all, everybody writes it. And who is ever going to write anything negative about themselves anyway? No one ever does it. Use real language, not the stuff that is what we call puffery.
And to grab attention, you can run it through this test. Why should I care? And if your grabbing attention statement doesn't answer that question, why someone should care, it doesn't matter.
And if you add a little theatrics to that statement, you can say, why do I care? That's a New Jersey view.
It's like half Godfather, half Keith.
I know, I tried.
All in one.
Kind of lost a bit. But think of someone sitting in the back with this scowl on their face like they're sucking lemons, thinking, why do I care what you have to say? Why do I care? Many times people think, man, people want to listen to me. No, they don't. You got to make them listen to you.
And once you have them reeled in and they're listening to you, step 1 is to grab attention. Step 2 is to win the hearts and minds of your investors.
Because if the investors don't like you, you're not going anywhere. You're done. If you haven't made a relationship with them, if you haven't pulled at their heartstrings, if they haven't seen themselves in you, you're done. Because you have to win people over through building a relationship.
And you do that by telling stories. We've watched a lot of pitches flop when it comes to this step because people will sit there with a whole arsenal of stats and research, but none of that matters unless the investors are feeling something. When you grab their attention, you need to have a story to support it. It could be a success story. For our public speaking business, we win the hearts and minds by sharing stories of people and what they've experienced as they've changed, new things that have come into their lives, things they never thought would be possible once they became more secure in their communication. It's very different than saying this many people have a public speaking challenge.
Remember, stories are how societies, cultures, tribes, religions, since the beginning of time, have passed down important things, have passed down customs. Stories resonate with the soul of every single person. Even the boring stories we hear every Thanksgiving from some family member, there's something in the back of your mind that says, I really loved hearing that story. You won't admit it, but it's comforting.
Also, stories stick. We remember stories. When we're fed stats, 2 minutes later, we don't remember anything. If you're going to share some stats in your pitch, have 1 or 2 really good ones. Because if you go beyond that, none of them will sink in.
Yeah, they have to be stats that wow people, or stats that you are so crazy that you think, I can't believe that, or I would have never thought that. Those are the stats that stick.
Not a stat that doesn't say anything. If we told you, well, body language is 1.2% of communication, you wouldn't care about any of the examples we gave. That's why we shared it's 70%. Then you cared, but we didn't go into a bunch of other percentages. Then proof of concept. This is something that gets thrown around a lot. It's something that's important in the art of the pitch, and it is, but it's how you go about it. Because a lot of people think to show proof for concept that you have to use industry jargon, words that nobody else is going to know in the room.
Or they think that you have to constantly defend your argument as though you're being attacked when no one's attacked you. And that shows the investor, wait a minute, why are they being so defensive? Are they expecting an attack? Or are they trying to cover for a hole that they don't want us to find out about? Remember, they're thinking, okay, what's the deal? Why hasn't someone else done this? They're trying to figure out every possible way to tear down in many ways what you're doing in a nice way, to try to find the holes in it. Don't show them where the holes could possibly be through a debate.
Keep it simple. And then the final step. And this is the one where we'll often see people stronger in the first two. And then you get to that last final step, which is the ask. And this is where a lot of people suddenly go south.
Here's what you have to do. You have to realize that you're worth it. If you have an ask for a certain amount of money, and you ask in a real timid, I would like if it would be possible, and you're not getting it, you have to show that you are worthwhile, that you are a risk that is worth taking, and that you are in it for the long term. And that's key. But the fact is, many people go into that thinking, I don't deserve this amount of money.
And it will show in their body language. They'll say, well, if I can just ask for about $2,000, it means nothing. When you make your ask, it needs to be as specific as possible. Never say, I need $10,000 to build a website and do social media. Because the investor's going to think, you are lazy. They're going to think how they started out and they did all of that on their own. You need to be specific with what you're going to use the money for and why, and the return on investment expected.
And spending the money on the building blocks of the business. As Rebecca pointed out, they're going to say you're just starting a business and you're getting a web designer and a website. There are a million sites that create your own. You're going to really show the investor you're putting the money in the base foundation of the business to grow it and develop it. You don't start off by getting all the bells and whistles.
You need to put the money in to something in the business that's going to bring the results. For example, if you were trying to scale a food company, then you might need bigger equipment or access to a commercial kitchen. But if you said, well, I need a PR person, they might think, well, that's nice. I could use something too. You want to make sure that your ask is appropriate for where you are in the business. Don't go too low, don't go too high.
And remember, the people you're talking to, they're not dreamers. They're cynical people who are holding on to money that is other people's money. And therefore, they have to be extremely cynical, extremely, this is a doubting Thomas at every step of the way.
And you want to save time. Keep the ask short because save time for questions. This is also critical. When an investor asks you something, never answer with, I don't know.
Even if you don't know, never say that, because that shows you're not being resourceful. You can say, that question requires further research. Let me have your name, email, or afterwards I'll find out for you. Or that's something that we're going to discuss later or after this meeting. There's many different ways where, hey, can we do a one-on-one to discuss that topic? So find other ways to say, I don't know without saying it.
And without getting emotional and over explaining why you feel badly that you don't know. Because once you go down that rabbit hole, you will lose all confidence in the investor.
And trust me, there's always going to be something you don't know.
Always.
And it's okay. We're human beings. Be a human being. You're not a robot.
It's the investor's job to try to find holes and to try to stump us. And it's okay if they do. It shows that you care. Instead of saying, I don't know, that's a dead end. But if you say, I'm going to find out for you, it shows that you're going to go the extra mile for your customers too. And along the way, as you're doing the art of the pitch, as you're giving your pitch, you're going to mess up. It happens. And when you mess up, the worst thing to do is dwell on it, apologize for it, keep on going. Act as though the mess up never happened.
Many times people will have a wrong slide, or they'll pull up slide 5 when they meant 4, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I meant to have this put together, or I should have mentioned this point, I forgot it. Can you imagine going to a concert and a band stopping and say, we missed a chord, we need to go back? I mean, that would kill the whole spirit of the concert. Keep going. Remember, no one is reading a script saying, oh, you missed that line. They have no idea. Keep pressing forward.
We've also seen things happen where if you're presenting with a partner, and let's say that partner gets sick and doesn't come, never apologize for who's not there because you're introducing the whole to the judge. It goes along with what Keith was saying before. Simply move forward. And when you're co-presenting, and this has happened with us, one person is going to say something that's wrong. They're going to make a mistake.
Who do you think that is?
Me.
It's Rebecca. I mean, it was pretty obvious, wasn't it?
Oh, usually the other way around.
But here's the thing. If someone says something wrong, just go with it, fill in the blank, pivot, move with it. The worst thing you can do is go, Rebecca, that was not the right statistic.
You really meant to say 4 million, not 3.999?
Because you look like a jerk to the audience.
You want to look as though you have everything together. Presenting with a partner is great because you can bounce off each other, and we encourage you to do that, especially if you're new at pitching. It buys you a safety because each person can talk about areas where they have their strengths.
And when we make mistakes, the other partner knows it, but they just keep going forward because you're looking at the long vision here, not the short-term game. You're looking to win the war, not the battle, in what you're doing. Keep moving forward. Discuss it after the fact. And here's another thing. Don't discuss it right after you're done presenting because people are still watching you in the room. Go to your car after the event or wherever you are and then talk about it.
That's critical. You are on stage even when you get off stage. People are watching. If you suddenly do this and show that you're upset with how you performed, that's going to be the last image that's in the investor's minds. You want to show your strength and your confidence. And then, a couple days later, ask other people who were there for feedback and take what they say and use it for the next time. We're never going to be perfect. We're never going to get it all right.
You never will. And if you do, you will be the only one that's ever walked this earth.
And remember, no one's out there going on Shark Tank. Chances are every single person out there, whether they're the investor or other people like you presenting ideas, everybody feels nervous. And most people are rooting you on. Thank you.
Thank you.